let's say you're over the speed limit, you drive at over 200 kilometers per hour, you cannot be fined.
Mm-hmm. But if you are caught on the spot, then
if you're caught on the spot, yeah, of course.
You're dead.
But if it's just if you're just caught on the radar,
now,
they cannot do anything.
Back to this new measures being introduced by the local government of Beijing to try to control the increase of vehicles. What have you heard about? What have you heard about?
About the new rules?
Yeah, about the new rules.
I've heard.
I have a full list of these new rules.
Okay,
basically 6 points.
I think what everyone probably knows is that they are now only releasing. Is that 20,000 car plates each month?
Each month.
And that is through lottery, because I've heard that in January alone, almost 10 times of that number of people actually applied for a car plate.
Now,
so it's only 1 out of 10 applications will eventually be lucky enough to have a car plate.
So it means that you could be in the lottery every month and never get a car in your entire life.
That's possible.
That's possible.
So do not buy a car until you have a lottery.
Our viewers might not have that feel how big or how small that is. Just give you some idea. In 2009, for that 1 year, we had an increase of 500,000 cars in Beijing.
In Beijing alone.
In Beijing alone.
500,000.
500,000 in 2009.
It's an average of nearly 2,000 a day.
That's true.
And I've heard it was in 2009 that China overtook the US and become the world's largest car market.
Manufacturer car market.
Car market.
Wow.
But the pollution became less.
We say in Tokyo, in Japan, from the number of vehicles from 2 million to 4 million, it took 22 years for that 2 million increase.
Okay.
And for Beijing, it took only 5 years to reach that, to have that increase of actually it's over 2 million. It's 2.2 million. So the increase of vehicles is, it's crazy in Beijing. So you'll see 20,000 licenses for each month. It's huge competition.
It's one out of 10. And I think compare Beijing with Tokyo probably is because we have such a large population in China, and with the urbanization, people from all parts of the country would love to move to big cities, and I think Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou probably being the top 3 choices. The population of the city is becoming more affluent, and then I think the map of Beijing is becoming bigger. There are people who cannot afford living in the center of the city. They have to live on the outskirts of the city area, and therefore the only choice for them to get into the city center to go to work every day is to drive a car, because their public transportation.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I wanted to come to.
It's not good enough.
I just went to Tokyo. I have to say that I think you guys have you been?
I haven't.
You haven't.
I have.
You have been.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
Tokyo,
very much like Shanghai.
Have you seen any traffic in Tokyo? I haven't seen it even once.
I have seen it. Well, but I think the good thing about Tokyo, as I mentioned, it's very much like Shanghai. As that in the city center, you have a very good subway system.
And very much concentrated.
It's still 10 times better than Shanghai in terms of public transportation. There are still a lot of places.
I know you just came back from Tokyo.
No, but hey, you have to say
Not
that
just
Shanghai
2 months ago.
In China, Shanghai is close. It's maybe the best public transportation system, especially for the subway.
Yeah.
But there is no way it comes close to Tokyo, to Paris, to London in terms of public, especially from the subway.
Yes.
We're catching up. We're catching up.
Yeah, you're catching up. But
let's come back.
The truth is that you need a car. That's the main problem.
That's true.
You need a car.
You have that demand.
And luckily in Beijing there are many taxis, which is not the case in Shanghai. It's much harder sometimes. If it's raining in Shanghai, you can't find a taxi. It's impossible.
Right.
It really, it also depends on where you are located at the time, and sometimes it's rather difficult to find a taxi in Beijing, and that's why so many people want to buy a car. And now it's only 20,000 license for each month, and there are so many people who want to buy a car. So who gets that plate? Who gets that opportunity? The system is a lottery system. Basically, you apply on the website, or you go to a certain place to apply for that right.
And transparent and random.
It will never be totally fair and transparent. You cannot avoid that.
We don't know. I mean, according to the system design, it should be transparent and fair to everyone. So everyone's got an equal chance. Out of these 20,000 licenses for each month, 88% of them, or nearly 17,000, will go to individual owners, car owners, while the rest, 2% will go to places like this car rental companies, for taxi companies, and the rest, it's about 10% will go to, say, these companies for their own use.
The thing was that a lot of people that replied to me, everyone has his own way of thinking about that. And a lot of people are saying that there were too many official plates, too many cars that were cars that people were buying in the name of, it's not only company, it's a lot, because there's a lot of government organizations in Beijing, and a lot of people kind of use that to get more cars. And so a lot of people are saying, well, with this new rule, still you allow too many of those cars, and the people who are paying the price for having all those organizations in Beijing are still the average people.
Obviously, I mean, that's been taken into consideration, because according to this new rule in this new lottery system, and for all these individual private car owners, you have the chance each month, and that is once every month. It's basically every month from the 1st to the 8th of every month there will be that lottery. So everyone who's applied,
first 8 days of every month you can apply. Right? Is that?
No, that's actually when the lottery is going to happen.
Oh. Okay.
So for the rest of the time you can apply for your ride, for your chance. By the 5th of January, we've already had 130,000 applicants. Applying, competing for 20,000. So it's 1 out of 6.5.
Okay. And that was only for the first 5 days.
Only for the first month. And the policy says if you don't get a plate this month, you stay in there in the pool. So that means for the second month we're going to have new applicants coming in.
Oh, so can you apply again for the second?
Can apply
Not again, but once you've applied, you're in.
You're in, but you don't have more chances for the next lottery. That's the thing. You will always be one of the
bigger pool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So in the second month there will be new applicants
coming in,
the older applicants from the past month. They'll compete. So that's a bigger pool. It's almost double
getting
size.
bigger.
It's very complicated.
Things are getting indeed complicated. So we need to take a break, and when we come back, more stories about these new rules. We'll be right back.
用手機上網真係好方便㗎，
但係一個唔覺意用多咗流動數據，就要俾多啲錢㗎啦。唔想咁樣，就要清楚服務計算方法，同埋經常留意數據用量。
如果選用數據用量冇上限嘅月費計劃，咪冇事咯。
係就係，但係用嗰時最好都要定期查詢用咗幾多數據量啊。
Check data usage. Enjoy mobile internet.
Welcome back to Crossover. So things are getting more complicated as to how we're going to get a car. And the latest information is by the 8th of this month, we've already had over 200,000 people applying for that 20. Because when you don't have that right, if you don't win a position in that lottery system, that means you're not entitled to buy a car, to own a car in Beijing, according to the new system.
So are there people who are actually applying for a car plate first?
Yeah, you have to have a car plate first before you can buy a car.
Right.
So virtually, and for this month, lottery is not going to happen until in the latter part of this month. So basically lots of dealers, they're taking their holidays because, you know, basically they're not able to sell any cars.
But there's a good part about all this. This gives place to a new form of corruption.
Come on.
Hey,
how is that going to happen? Tell us.
Come on.
Do not
Everyone knows.
politicalize everything.
No, it's not politics.
No.
It's in any country, if you have something like this happening, there will always be people who find a way.
So,
how do they find a way?
A new car plate can become a gift.
Let me ask you this question. Why do some car dealers now offer this package? If you buy this car, and they give you a time limit. If you buy this car today, you will get your lottery.
Who can make sure?
Well, they assure it to you.
But
how do they do that?
Even when that is happening, maybe that is happening in the joint part of the two systems, right? And I guess when time moves on to the second month, third month, that will not happen. It's actually very difficult for them to find that breach.
No, I'm just thinking that people like me who are potential car buyers would eventually give up the idea. Because it's getting so hard to have a car plate.
I don't think it's necessary to have a car in Beijing. Sometimes it would be more practical. Very often you buy stuff, you want to buy a lot of stuff, and it's very, if you're alone and you want to buy a lot, it's very hard if you don't have your own car to actually push your everything to the cab. Okay, this is the few things, but for most of the time, I mean, it's more practical to travel by cab, honestly.
And it's not the end of these new rules.
No.
The third part, because we have 6 points, and the third point
by the way,
this
all the rules applied to foreigners living in Beijing.
Yeah, well, foreigners, no, not according to what I have here. Basically, because
you have a better chance, probably, Julia.
The third point is more about who can buy, who can't.
Okay.
I mean, if you're a local resident, then that means you have that right to get into that lottery system. But if you are, say, from other places, if you don't have a local hukou, the official residence certificate, that means you have to be here. You have to prove you've been working in Beijing for 5 years
in a row.
And you need to have a local temporary residence certificate or something like that. And
how do they prove if they are like a freelancer?
And that's a good question. Then you need to have, say, local securities. Insurances, local insurances. So when you can prove that you've been living and working legally and properly for 5 years, then you get the chance to be in that lottery system. Not to say when you're going to get it.
The more papers you have at home, the more chances you have to get a car.
Right.
This is like you having this entry for running for the top student or something. You know, I behaved well for the past 5 years. I pay my tax. I had a steady job, and now I get a chance to go for the license.
And then you go for an interview, and then come all those so-called doctors and whatever professors that sell those CDs and DVDs teaching you how to make a good car interview, what to wear, what to say.
What is a new profession? You know, giving people new work opportunities.
And you'll see that on the TVs at the airport every time you wait for a plane. You know?
And then they would do a live show about this. You know, out of 50 million people or something, and you compete on TV.
Oh yeah, and we'll be invited to be a guest
that
on
is a good idea for a reality show, though. You're thinking too much, you know. Next one, point 4. Remember in the Shanghai case, because lots of your friends, maybe they decided to buy a car, but using a plate of other places, right?
Out of Shanghai.
Okay.
Plate.
If you have a plate of other places, that means you can't be driving in Beijing in working days from 7 to 9.
Is that in
and
Beijing
17 to 20 hours.
In center areas?
That's within the 5th Ring Road. So if you don't have a local plate, that means you're not allowed in, especially in those rush hours.
So that basically means you cannot drive to work unless you want to drive to the supermarkets every day after 8.
Well, that basically rules out the possibility that you buy a car and you're using a plate and license of other places.
Right.
Well, it's harsh, but it's necessary. Beijing has become horrible,
Well,
especially
I
in those
agree.
times of every year, the end of the year, starting mid-December.
Yeah.
Up
When
till the end of January or whenever, yeah.
Through New Year and
whenever
Spring Festival.
those times are horrible in Beijing.
Point 5.
Okay.
At the same time, they're reducing the parking fees outside the 5th Ring Road. So that means they're encouraging people to park their cars outside the city center.
And take the subway, right?
Well, obviously, that's what they want
right.
to encourage.
Well, that would be an idea to have actually huge parking lots of like 8 stories
And you
near
need to have enough
subway
stations.
there.
Yeah.
I think that by the end of this year, the end of 2011, we will have 5 new lines in Beijing, or the end of 2012?
Yes. Yeah,
Well, 5 new lines have already been opened to the public not long ago, maybe 5
But
more.
those 5 lines,
5 more new lines.
Yes, they actually connect the basically the suburban area of Beijing to the city center. But still, there are lots of people who are living along the 5th Ring Road area, and these people they need to be transported into the city every day. So, well, Beijing need to really keep digging the subways.
Yes, but even inside the city, because the main traffic problem is still inside the 5th Ring Road, and inside the city, even inside the 3rd Ring Road, the 2nd Ring Road,
But
you have a lot of places where you could walk 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and still not find a subway station.
Yeah, but I
This is
mean,
a lot
that's
of
why
that.
you see lots of these, construction signs and new lines are being built, but we don't know when they're put to use yet.
Well, we hope for the best.
Hopefully.
I used to actually take the cab systematically, and now more and more I take the
I
subway.
mean, that's basically the same problem. Either you drive or you take the cab,
You're
you're on the
stuck on the
ground.
road.
And when there's traffic, there's traffic.
Right.
Now I take sometimes I really take the subway, because I know, well, first of all, for the times where
Maybe
it's really
20 years
practical.
later, you can drive your own little plane.
Well, the thing is, I would, I would actually I would be on bicycle all the time if I didn't have to do shows. I cannot be sweaty. I cannot be sweaty, and with the clothes you have to take a suit. You have to. It's not practical to be on a bike. Otherwise, I would really take my bike much more.
And point number 6, basically that has something to do with the deadline of the previous old system and the new system, because there is a joint period of the 2 systems overlapping, and it basically says if you buy a car before a certain date, then it's the old policy, but if it's after that, and that is the new policy.
What's the date?
That's the 23rd and 24th of December last year.
23rd of December
Finished.
last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the last day, and 24th was the beginning day of the new system. That's the end of the old system. That means after that, you have to wait until all these, details of the new rules are coming out.
okay.
Well, they had to do it because a lot of people who actually had ordered the car and were
Before the
waiting.
New Year, yeah.
Well, actually, when we come back after the short break, we'll be talking about what happened that day, that night. Actually, many of them worked for like 24 hours that day. We'll be right back after a short break. You're watching Crossover. And welcome back to Crossover. So what exactly happened on that final day of the old policy, old system?
I don't know. I didn't even try to know that.
I've heard stories about it actually. Actually, I think on TV news they covered that was the last night before the deadline that you were talking about. I've heard that many of the car sales shops actually opened until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and they sell cars for like every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes.
Make a wild guess of how many cars Beijing sold for that day.
On that day, the
One day?
Yep.
23rd, 24th, 20,000.
So that's like, the quotas for 1 month.
No, I would say more than that. I mean, I just triple your number, maybe like 60,000.
It's 160,000.
Oh gosh.
For that each day.
That's great.
Remember, the quota for the whole year of the new system 2011 is 240,000.
Right.
And for that single day, it's 160,000. Because everyone wants to catch the final train.
Right.
And that's why all these, dealers, car dealers, all these voice shops, actually all these stores, they are open for the whole day, and that is not even enough. And it seems, it's like the white cabbage, and everyone is, okay, this is mine.
Right,
So, yeah.
and they have to fight for a car. I've heard this extreme case that there were like 3 gentlemen fighting for one car, and one of them actually scratched the car with his keys and make sure no one else would want that car.
Okay, you want to
That's
play
so
hard? Yes, I
extreme.
want to play hard. And the other guy came over. He broke the window. Okay, this is mine.
Hey, let's play trampoline. But
That's crazy.
it's crazy. They should have had a kind of limit for the car dealers too. But here's the question. It's my guess is that if they were able to sell that much in a day, it would mean that as soon as you have the invoice dating of that day, whenever you get your car, because some cars. I mean, there's no way they have all those cars in Beijing at the same time. So
Right.
you will have to wait for your car. Let's say the car you're waiting for is a car that is that's very expensive, not that common. You'll have to wait a few months. But I guess, judging by that as soon as your invoice is...
That's true. And what I heard about, I mean, this is basically a story. Because, obviously you don't have that many cars in that store. You don't really see those cars. It's not even manufactured. But basically what they did was, at the time, you paid your money. You had your invoice that's within that deadline.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're giving a number. That's the number of the plate of the engine of the car, which is supposedly yours in the future, maybe in the coming 2-3 months. But that's your car. So to some extent, you've paid and you've bought the car, which is yet to be assembled.
Right. It's like you've paid this much money for nothing, for something that has not even started being produced yet.
It's like ordering a tailor-made suit. It's the same concept. So it's not that new, but it's unbelievable.
But still, I'm shocked by that number. That's 160.
160,000.
So you were, you were 100,000 short in your wild guess.
Right.
So, and everyone is talking about what's going to happen next.
Well, the first thing I preview now is that, judging by what you just enumerated, I think they have made a set of rules that no one in the whole world can actually understand at the same time. Like, I heard a story about that. No, it was the film by Michael Moore. About capitalism, and there were rules in Wall Street that they were so sure that they knew that no lawyer in the world could understand. And if there was that specimen of lawyer that could understand that rule and actually succeed at court for a trial, they would hire that lawyer for such a high price that the lawyer would actually go to them.
That's true.
This kind of set of rule. It kind of makes me think about that.
You need to have consultants.
Right.
You have a set of rules that are so complicated because you will have different cases.
Right.
It'll be like, for every set of rules we'll have, so it's going to be like this if there's this, but except for these people, those people, those people, and except if you were born before that day, but there's different cases if it was a Chinese New Year or...
But the thing is, I mean, it's only natural because these are the new rules when they're introduced. Maybe not every possible element is being considered, and it only comes out when it comes out.
But I have a question. What about people who owns more than one car?
If you already have a car and you want to maybe buy a new car to replace it, right? Okay. You don't have to go to the lottery system.
Oh, that's the interesting point.
You can keep your own car plate?
No, not the plate. You're going to change the plate, but you don't have to go through the whole process.
So you can buy it anyway.
Yes, you can buy it, but you have to sell your car first.
To prove that you would not possess 2 cars at the same time.
The new rule says one person, one ID has only 1 car.
Okay,
what if I already have 3 cars?
That applies to the old system.
Okay, so I can use my 3 cars as usual.
But not new cars.
Okay, so I cannot buy a 4th car.
No.
But when the 3 cars gets older and I have to...
If you want to replace one of them, no.
Okay. So
you're only entitled to 1 car. No.
Okay.
According to my understanding.
So gradually it is down to 1 person, 1 car.
Yeah.
So I understand. If you have even 2 cars and you have to replace one of them, it's impossible.
No way.
You cannot have. You'll have either to get rid of one of the cars and use the other one, or sell the two in order to be able to buy
That's true.
one. Okay.
And the thing is, it is even, well, it's also getting difficult for us to sell that car, because anyone who is going to buy the car need to have the plate first. Then they'll have to go through the lottery system first to get the plate before they can buy a car. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a second-handed car or it's a new car.
Let me ask you a question. You're trying to buy a second car. How come do you know everything that well?
Because we're doing this show, you know. We're doing. I was doing my homework while you are not.
You're
this
one
whole
of the.
thing is becoming hard math for me. I mean, to me, it's just like so complicated.
So the consequences, one of the consequences is many of these second-handed car dealers, they're going out of this market.
Yeah.
Because once you've been through the whole complicated process of trying to get that ride, you know, one position out of, for the first month, 200,000 people, you don't want to buy a second-hand car.
I know. And also I'm thinking even for first-hand cars, and the car salesperson, no wonder they're taking holidays. First of all, during the last days of December.